there.
So you mean
What?
two games?
Yeah.
That was, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Is the opposing Jalen Hunt takes on a bigger role here?
We'll see. We'll see how that goes. We got some guys, obviously, with all these guys, and really like our room. They've been playing really at a really high level. We think Jalix, we obviously, drafted Jalix because we liked his skill set. Jalix has been doing a lot of good things on special teams. And so, yeah, we'll see how those reps get divvied up, and this week will tell a lot in practice.
Is the plan to put him on IR possibly, or is it too soon?
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. See where we are as we continue on through the week and after everything goes on.
Is this possibility one of the scenarios when you were at the trade deadline that this could be a result, and was that something you guys had in mind?
Again, we talk about everything and through every situation. But like I said, we really like this room and the guys. We love Bryce and the way he's battled through and the things that he's done, and but we feel good about the depth that we have here and some of the young guys that Nolan's done a really good job, and Jalix can, we'll see where he is as we continue on here, but Jalix keeps getting better as a football player, and Sweat's played a really good, has had some really good games and been playing really at a top-notch level, and BG has just continued to be steady throughout like he has his entire career.
Any concern over, obviously BG's played at a high level, but he is 36, and Josh last year sort of had the quick start, played a lot of snaps, and maybe then tailed off. That sort of workload, increased workload to keep an eye on?
Yeah, we kind of focus on everything. Again, I think the last couple games they've played in a sweet spot of where that we anticipate them playing, but that fluctuates week in, week out, depending on how the game's going, doing what we need to do to win the game. But then, like I said to you guys about everything, the management that you do with your players is done more Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then you do what you got to do to win the game. Yes, you're trying to have rotations to keep guys fresh throughout the year, but we owe it to ourselves, the team, and our fans and everybody to do everything we need to do to win the game. And I know that's always a popular question of, well, do you have to manage this and manage that? Yeah, we do, but we're also thinking what we need to do in that time frame to win the football game. And again, we can take care of their bodies on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and as much as we possibly can. And don't think that it's not on our mind on Sunday. It is. And we'll do it as much as we possibly can on Sunday. But that number of plays, touches, or anything, you talk about, you go in with a number in mind, you try to hit within 5 of that. Sometimes it's 5 higher, sometimes it's 5 lower. That's the way it goes.
What stands out to you about Nolan's development? How big is he going to be, over the stretch?
Yeah, I think, what a guy that's been able to, handle the ups and downs, not getting a lot of reps early on in his career because of the depth that we had at that position, to now really being a big-time contributor. Patience of everybody. Just, hey, it takes time. It takes time. And if you got the right people, like Nolan is, Nolan deeply cares about being good at football. Nolan loves football. Nolan is tough as we got. He's one of the toughest guys we got on this football team. He plays as hard as anybody in the National Football League. And so when you have those characteristics, and he's got great skill, right? When you have those characteristics as a person, you'll continue, if God willing, you'll reach your ceiling. And I think he just keeps getting better because of who he is as the skill that he has and who he is as a person. And so, I think we want things to happen right away at all times. I'm guilty of that. I think we all are. But development and getting better every day, there's a process, and it takes time. And I think what you've seen is just, him putting his head down, working every day, regardless of what the circumstances are. And you've seen him get better and now he's making some really contributing big time to our success.
Nick, along the lines of Georgia guys, Jordan Davis is a guy who hasn't made the splash plays, I guess, but what have you seen from him maybe since the bye week as far as play?
Sometimes D tackles aren't going to have the splash plays, at times, because sometimes they're eating up the double team. Sometimes there's no space in there, and other guys are contributing because, it's taking 2 guys to block them, and Zach Bond or N'Kobe can run around and make the play. So, I think Jordan continues to get better. He's strung together a couple nice games in a row by our accounts of, did we grade him out as a positive? And I don't get into the grades much, but Jordan's been playing well and doing what we've asked him to do. And so, again, sometimes at that position, it's not always, sometimes it's like the offensive line, might not notice everything that's happening from the stat sheet or from anything else, but we sure as heck do. And I know his linebackers behind him do. And he's doing some nice things with the way he's taking on blocks, the way he's getting off blocks, and being able to finish when he has opportunities to finish.
We talked in Vic yesterday about the defense being so young, but yet you have Brandon and Slay. I mean, how valuable have they been to have on that side of the ball?
Yeah, big time. I think those two guys are phenomenal leaders that, could lead any team, lead any business, just great leaders. We talked about Slay today. It was kind of the topic of our team meeting today of just being able to overcome adversity, right? And so you have to overcome adversity in game. And DBs have to go through that quite a bit, and you have to overcome adversity through your career, And so I talked to Slay quite a bit, and we just talked about how he's had to overcome early adversity in his career, and now now he's at year 12, right? And so if you don't, if bad things happen and you can't overcome them, maybe you don't deserve to be in year 12, and he has, and bad things happen and you don't overcome them, maybe you don't deserve to continue to win games. And so that was our talking points today, just being mentally tough because of how long this season is and how grueling it is, and that there's going to be ups and downs, and really handling that. And so when you're able to use one of your players, it's always great to pull a video and show, hey, watch Michael Jordan talk about this, or watch Tiger Woods talk about this, or watch, you name it, Roger Federer talk about that, whatever it is. It's so much better when you're able to put your own guys up there, and then that can kind of lead into questions that the other guys have for Slay. And so when we were able to do that and kind of take his progression of his first year, when he was wearing number 30 through everything, it was really an awesome story about how he's persevered and why he is where he is. And so that's what you want to accomplish for the entire team. And again, just can't say enough about the leaders that we have on this football team, particularly the two you asked about, big time leaders, and that's important for any team, any organization.
Nick, how different is the self-scout process coming off 6 wins than it was early in the year when you're 2-2?
Yeah, you try not to let it be any different, right? You may have more to watch at certain points, because there's more to fix. But even then, you're like, okay, here's what we need to fix based off of our studies. Let's watch this. But then when you're coming off, when you feel like you're playing good football, but we have a lot of things to correct. And when you feel like you're doing some good things, then it's like, well, what can complement this? So it's still the grueling. You don't have the same amount of time as you normally have in a bye week because it's a shorter process, but it's still the same process, with little tweaks because of the amount. But as far as the wins and the losses or what your record is, it just takes different shapes and forms. Again, sometimes it's, bam, we need to improve this, and it's very clear. Sometimes you have to search for that answer of what you need to improve. And sometimes when you're playing well and doing a lot of good things, you still have things that you got to correct. But then it's like, well, what can complement this? What can complement that? And so, but it's always about not skipping steps and being diligent in your work of your bye week. I think we've had some good success after bye weeks. This isn't exactly the same thing, but we feel like we have a good formula in bye weeks that we use on Thursday night games, and that we'll use continuing moving forward.
Nick, what does that self-scout process teach you about the passing game?
Yeah, again, we'll keep a lot of that in-house as far as because obviously if I share it with you guys and share it with everybody, I'm giving some information to the opposing teams. But again, all I can say is for every part of our game, it was productive. And now it's our chance as coaches to build on that and put them in positions to succeed, and our guys to go execute. And so, again, self-scout. Anytime you have self-scouts, and have the time to be able to do it, and you simulate time also even on a regular week to do it as well. So you're always thinking about it, but anytime you have extra time to do it, it's going to be helpful.
Nick, a lot
Two more,
a lot-
please.
a lot was made last year about how the culture and chemistry toward the end of the season wasn't what you guys wanted to be. Is there anything this year that you can point to and say, yeah, I know it's right because I've solved this?
Again, I just think it always comes back down to the connection. I think football is always, we talk about our core values, and there's always these truths, and football changes. There's things that, scheme changes, the ebbs and flows of the way the game's being played changes. But at the end of the day, it's always do you play with detail, right? Did you play with detail? Did you play with fundamentals? That's what I mean, detail, football IQ, all those different things. Did you play tough, right? And did you play together? Like, those things don't change. And so one thing I've noticed is just, and so we always kind of talk about that, but I really feel like this team continues to, I just think we got some really good teammates and coaches that are just, everyone's, just so locked into becoming better. And I do feel like that everyone's locked into becoming better. And I think I felt that way last year too, don't get me wrong. So, it didn't work. There was things that happened last year that we feel like we've corrected, that we're on the right track, and try not to focus. We've made those corrections already to last year. And so we're trying you don't focus too much on that. You just work on what you can try to build each day. But I really feel like this team continues to grow closer each day. We got great teammates. We got great leaders. Winning is contagious. And so you build on that success that you've had. But I think the other thing I see is just the hunger of everyone, to get better. And that's all I can point out from this year's team. Forget last year's team. We've learned from those mistakes that we've made from last year. Myself, the team, everybody. I really noticed this year's team that we're getting closer as a football team, and just have that hunger to get better each day.
Last one.
Offensive-minded head coach. When you look at Sean McVay, what do you see? What do you like?
Yeah, I think Sean has done an unbelievable job there for a long time. Was it 7-8 years for him as the head football coach? So he's had a great run to date, and has been at the top of the mountain. And I have a lot of respect for his scheme. I have a lot of respect. One thing I always want guys to respect on our team is that we play with great fundamentals, because, that we put a lot of time into that. I always see that from his guys, and I've always seen that from his guy, even dating back to when I knew he was a wideout guy and he was at Washington. I was like, man, his wide receivers play the game the way I envision receivers playing the game. So I've always respected that about him. And like, looking at afar, you always try to study guys, and I got so much respect for his leadership. We have some of the strength guys that were here with him, and I've always, I've been very curious about, hey, what would Sean do in this situation? What would Sean do in that situation? You always try to learn from people. And so, again, when you watch the tape, it's obvious he's a great football coach with the details and the fundamentals of what he's, and obviously the scheme. I think he gets talked a lot about with his scheme and all those things, but you see it in his players of how good they play the game. And so that's a tribute to his players, but that's a tribute to his coaches, the coach as well. And then, like I said, I just admire his leadership from afar. I don't know him well, but I really admire his leadership from afar and how he's been through. Talk about a guy who's had up seasons and some slight down seasons, and then recovers back. And man, can't say enough good things about him and what I think of him as a football coach and a person.
All right.